and spell your name.
Wendi Adelson, Wendiadelson.
Ms. Adelson, where are you from?
I'm from Coral Springs, Florida.
And you live in another state now currently, right?
I do, yes ma'am.
All right. How are you employed?
I'm an immigration attorney.
How long have you been an attorney?
Since 2006.
And you're here pursuant to a state subpoena, is that correct?
Yes.
And that subpoena confers a type of immunity on you. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Which means that nothing you say here in court pursuant to that subpoena can be used against you at a later time. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean you could never be prosecuted. It just means that what you say in court could not be used in any future prosecution. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. I want to ask you about your ex-husband, Daniel Markel. Is that a fair and accurate photo of Mr. Markel?
Yes.
When did you meet him?
We met originally online. It must have been the fall of my first year of law school, so 2003.
Okay. And when did you marry Mr. Markel?
We married in February of 2006.
Were you living in Tallahassee at some point as a married couple?
Yes.
When did you move to Tallahassee?
We moved to Tallahassee my final year of law school, so that would have been in the summer of 2005. And we were here from 2005 till 2006. We spent a year at the University of Miami from 2006 to 2007, and then came back to Tallahassee from 2007 until 2014.
All right. And during the time that you were living here in Tallahassee, did you live over on Trescott Drive?
For some of the time that we lived here, yes.
And when your first child was born, were you residing at the Trescott Drive residence at that point?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have a photo of that here. Is that the Trescott Drive residence?
Yes.
And how many children did you have with Mr. Markel?
We have 2 children.
What were their ages at the time of their father's death?
It was 10 days before my older son's 5th birthday, so he was 4 turning 5, and our younger son was 3.5. The boys are 14 months apart.
And did there come a time when you and Mr. Markel separated?
Yes.
When was the separation?
It was in the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was mine.
How did your ex take that news?
Well, we talked about it many times before it actually happened, but when the separation became official, he was very upset.
And even though there were problems and issues and discussions, it was a surprise to him when it actually happened, right?
It was.
Okay. And was part of the reason for the separation your differing views on how to raise the kids pursuant to the Jewish faith?
I'd say it was a very small part, but it was a part.
Did you consider your ex to be a religious zealot?
No, I didn't think he was a religious zealot, but I did think he was using religion as a way of controlling me.
What if I told you that the most dangerous person in a courtroom isn't always the one on trial? That sometimes the witness everyone watches isn't testifying to reveal the truth, but to control it? In the murder of Professor Dan Markel, a brilliant legal mind was silenced forever in his own driveway. 3 people have been convicted. 2 await trial. But there's one name that appears in every testimony, every wiretap, every desperate conversation, yet never on an indictment. Wendi Adelson, the ex-wife, the sister, the daughter, the witness who keeps taking the stand in trials that aren't even hers. Today, we're going to examine not what she's accused of, but something far more unsettling. What happens when intelligence becomes a weapon, when family loyalty becomes a prison, and when the person at the center of everything remains untouchable. This is Dark Trail Files, and some stories don't end with an arrest. They end with a question no one wants to answer. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. If you're drawn to cases where the answers hide in plain sight, where psychology matters as much as evidence, where justice isn't always clear-cut, subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. Hit that notification bell, because we don't just report true crime. We examine the minds behind it, the patterns no one else sees, the moments that reveal more than any confession ever could. We're building a community of people who think deeper, question harder, and aren't satisfied with surface-level storytelling. Join us. Now, let's dive into one of the most psychologically complex cases in recent American legal history. July 18th, 2014. Tallahassee, Florida. Dan Markel, a respected law professor at Florida State University, pulled into his driveway at 11:02 a.m. 2 minutes later, neighbors heard what sounded like fireworks. It wasn't. Dan Markel had been shot twice in the head while sitting in his car. He died 15 hours later, never regaining consciousness. The murder was brutal, calculated, and professional. But here's what made it different from a typical execution. Dan Markel wasn't involved in criminal enterprises. He didn't owe money to dangerous people. He was a legal scholar, a father of 2 young boys, and by all accounts, someone whose greatest conflict was a custody battle with his ex-wife. That ex-wife was Wendi Adelson. Within hours, investigators began noticing something unusual. Wendi had been driving in Dan's neighborhood that morning, something she claimed was accidental, a wrong turn while looking for a tennis court. The same day her ex-husband was murdered, she just happened to be blocks away. The coincidence was noted, but coincidences aren't evidence. The investigation moved slowly at first. No fingerprints, no DNA at the scene, no obvious suspects. Then investigators started following the money. Phone records, bank transactions, traveling patterns, and everything led back to one family, the Adelsons. Specifically, to Wendi's brother, Charlie Adelson, a successful dentist in South Florida, and her mother, Donna Adelson, a woman prosecutors would later describe as the matriarch who couldn't accept her daughter's life choices. Here's what prosecutors eventually uncovered. Charlie Adelson allegedly hired Katie Magbanua, his former girlfriend, who connected him to Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, the 2 men who drove from Miami to Tallahassee, shot Dan Markel, and drove back. Luis Rivera eventually cooperated with authorities and pleaded guilty. Sigfredo Garcia was convicted. Katie Magbanua was convicted after a second trial. Charlie Adelson was arrested in 2022 and convicted in 2023. Donna Adelson was arrested in 2023, and her trial recently concluded with a guilty verdict. A conspiracy spanning years, involving hired killers, cash payments disguised as dental work, and a family desperate to bring Wendi Adelson closer to home. But here's the question that haunts this entire case. If this was a family conspiracy, why is Wendi Adelson the only family member never charged? Intelligence is praised in courtrooms. But watch what happens when intelligence becomes something else entirely. A shield, a strategy, a performance.
Now I want to talk about your knowledge and your belief on this. You're a smart person, right?
How am I supposed to answer that?
Well, let's go through your resume. You went to Brandeis University, right?
I did.
You graduated magna cum laude.
I did.
If you could explain to the jury what that means.
It means I studied a lot and got good grades.
It means, and to speak, I'm from the Northeast. My Boston accent may give it away. It means you're wicked smart, right?
That's very
You had a
nice.
high
Thank
GPA,
you.
a very high GPA.
I work hard.
You also went and you got a master's degree from the University of Cambridge.
I did.
You were a Gates Scholar.
I was.
You then go to the University of Miami School of Law, which is a top-tier law school, Tier 1, right?
Okay.
Right? We're talking about your level of intelligence. You went to the University of Miami Law School, right?
I did, yes.
You also clerked at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, right?
I did.
Now, to get a clerkship out of law school, it's a very difficult thing to do, right?
It's challenging.
You have to have top grades. You have to go through a rigorous selection process, right?
Yes.
You then become a professor at the Florida State University College of Law, right?
Yes.
You're also a published author, right?
Now you're just embarrassing me.
This case, everywhere. You'd agree with me on that, right?
I've been advised by my lawyer not to read it.
All right. Now, we're not talking about reading stuff. There's podcasts,
Also not to listen.
TV shows,
Also not to watch.
articles.
Don't read.
And so you've made the decision. Now, you're a lawyer yourself too, right?
I am.
And you made the decision, I'm not going to look at any of this stuff.
Correct.
I don't want to know what happened to the father of my 2 children.
Not I don't want to know what happened.
How can you say you love those boys if you don't care who killed the father that they loved?
You also have a separate obligation as an attorney to tell the truth, right?
Of course.
Okay.
I don't believe that I did.
You did not.
I don't remember doing that, no.
No further questions.
I don't remember exactly the timeline of that.
Okay, thank you.
Lawyers, yeah.
I honestly don't.
Wendi Adelson isn't just smart. She's Ivy League educated, a former law student, a published author, and someone who once taught at a university. When she takes the stand, everyone knows they're not questioning someone who stumbles over legal terminology or misunderstands the weight of an oath. They're questioning someone who understands exactly how the game is played. But here's what makes intelligence dangerous in a courtroom. It allows you to anticipate questions before they're asked. It lets you construct answers that sound helpful while revealing nothing. It gives you the ability to appear cooperative while maintaining complete control over the narrative. Throughout her testimonies, Wendi demonstrates a peculiar pattern. Her answers are often long, detailed, and filled with context. She doesn't just answer questions, she frames them. She provides background. She explains her thinking. And in doing so, she subtly redirects the conversation away from areas that might expose her. Is this evasion? Not exactly. It's something more sophisticated. It's narrative control. And when you're smart enough to understand what prosecutors are really asking, you're smart enough to answer a slightly different question, one that's safer. Denials come in many forms. Some are simple, direct, emotional. Others are carefully constructed, layered with context, designed to sound complete. Listen to how this one is built.
Were you in any way involved in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
No.
Did you maybe know it was going to happen but not know the details?
I did not know it was going to happen, and I did not know any details.
Did you provide any information, even unknowingly in hindsight, that you think could have been used to assist the murderers?
I don't think so. I didn't provide any information.
What information do you have regarding your mother's involvement in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
I don't have information.
But you do admit that your brother said he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel.
I don't. I admit that my brother made a tasteless joke repeatedly about buying me a TV because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
But then someone did hire a hitman who did kill Dan Markel, right?
Yes, that happened.
Was part of the plot to kill your ex for you to have plausible deniability or to know very little about it?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Were you shielded from the plot because, I don't know, you couldn't be trusted to keep a secret?
I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny.
Why did you tell investigator Isom in your law enforcement interview that you were worried the police, or you were worried, I guess, in the police car on the way to be interviewed, that you might be considered a suspect?
Because I couldn't think of anything bad going on in his life other than the divorce. And frequently the ex-wife is a suspect.
Were you treated as a suspect?
I was not.
But you mentioned 9 times in your law enforcement interview being a suspect, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Notice the structure of her denial. It's not just I didn't do it. It's a complete narrative that explains not only what she didn't do, but why the very idea is impossible, how she couldn't have known, and how her character makes such an accusation absurd. This isn't the language of someone caught off guard. This is the language of someone who has thought through every possible question and prepared for it. Intelligence isn't innocence. It's preparation. And in Wendi Adelson's case, that preparation is visible in every answer she gives. But intelligence can only protect you from questions you've anticipated. And there was one relationship Wendi Adelson couldn't fully prepare for. One connection that kept pulling her back no matter how carefully she chose her words. That relationship was with her brother, Charlie. And when prosecutors started asking about him, something shifted. Family bonds are usually described with warmth, with fondness. But sometimes when you listen closely, you hear something else, dependence, complexity, and something that sounds almost like orbit.
I absolutely had a close relationship with my brother.
And how soon after the murder did your lawyer advise you not to talk to your family about it?
In 2016.
Okay, so what about the 2 years in between? Did you talk to him about it then?
I mean, I talked to him about the fact that a murder occurred, but I guess I don't understand the question.
But you never talked to him about the suspicions you raised in the law enforcement interview that your brother might have done it?
No, I did not.
You suspected your brother could have been a part of this, right?
I suspected lots of people could have been a part of it.
But he was one of the people, right?
While I was talking with law enforcement for 6 hours, terrified out of my mind, I offered them every possible idea I could come up with.
Right. And one of the possible ideas was that your brother could have murdered your child's father.
I didn't really believe that was possible.
Was part of the plot for you to be able to have plausible deniability about this?
Absolutely not.
Is it better for both you and your brother if you don't know the details of this?
I don't even understand the question that you're asking me.
When did you first become aware that you might be a suspect in this case?
I mean, as the ex-wife, I assumed I was a suspect from the beginning.
What was your first thought when you were asked if anyone might have murdered Dan Markel for your benefit?
I thought, oh my God, maybe if I hadn't divorced him, he would still be alive. Maybe this is my fault because I complained to the wrong person. Maybe Danny gave a student a bad grade and they came after him. I just was trying to think of who possibly could have wanted to hurt him.
But you didn't say any of that before. I mean, the first thing you said was Charlie, right?
I don't think so.
Page 25 of your interview, line 5 through 15. Do you have any reason to dispute? Page 25, not 5 hours into it. You say Charlie might have done it, right?
Can I see, please?
You may. This is going to be tab 1, page 25.
What I say here is that he would never do it. Right under the highlighted part, I say, no, he would never.
Need a copy?
Page 25, line 5 through 15. I mean, my brother, the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in that taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and then I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay or fix it, or whether I should get a new one. And it was always his joke that, he knew that Danny always treated me badly. And it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV. So instead I got you this TV. And you do say you don't think he would do it, but can we agree you brought up his name on page 25 of the interview?
I did.
When asked, would you ever ask someone to do something like this? You say, not in a million years. When asked, okay, do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? You say no. And when Isom starts to ask you, what good does it serve? You say, I mean my brother, the one, his name is Charlie. Isn't that how it went?
This is the transcript, but I think there's also inaccuracies in the transcription.
Oh boy. All right. Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says, regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I
Different
said.
now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not
No
right.
further questions.
In multiple testimonies, Wendi describes her relationship with Charlie as close, loving, supportive, the kind of sibling relationship anyone would want. But here's what's fascinating. The closer she describes that relationship, the harder it becomes for her to distance herself from what he's accused of doing. This is what I call sibling gravity. No matter how carefully she constructs her answers, every question about Charlie pulls her back into his orbit. She can't fully separate herself without seeming cold. She can't fully defend him without implicating herself. So she exists in this strange middle space, close enough to be believable, distant enough to maintain deniability. There are moments in testimony where the tone shifts, where the questions stop being gentle and start pressing on the one thing the witness doesn't want to discuss. This was one of those moments.
It's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or
didn't
potentially
you?
someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you. I mean, that's what happened, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
When did you learn that Catherine McBanoa was blackmailing your brother for the murder of your ex-husband?
Today.
So he never told you?
No.
You testified in Catherine McBanoa's murder trial last year, didn't you?
I did, yes.
And she was convicted.
She was convicted, yes.
A crime for which she apparently is innocent because she was just a conduit for Sigfredo Garcia. Did you learn that today along with all of us?
Well, I learned that someone made that argument. I don't know whether it's true or not true.
Did your dad get any big gifts for his 70th?
I don't remember.
So there was no big lead up and discussion about some big gift that you were involved in, at least?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I gave him a present. I hope I did.
Do you remember what anybody gave him for that birthday?
I really don't.
Was the murder of Dan Markel your dad's big gift?
I mean, that's, of course not. That's a horrible thing to say.
What about the grandchildren, getting full unfettered access to the grandchildren?
My
Could that
parents
have been
had
the
full
big gift?
unfettered access to their grandchildren always.
You want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
Somebody hired him, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid him.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want him held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I say.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. Oh, that's not
No
right.
further questions.
Watch her body language here. Watch how her answers become more careful, more measured. This isn't the friendly conversation about childhood memories. This is a woman being forced to choose in real time between protecting her brother and protecting herself. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can see the calculation happening. The pauses before answers. The slight shifts in tone. The moments where she seems to be weighing not what's true, but what's safe to say. Prosecutors know this. They know that the bond between Wendi and Charlie is both her greatest vulnerability and her greatest mystery. Because if this was truly a family conspiracy, that bond is where it began. And if she had no knowledge of the plot, that bond is where the secret was kept from her. Either way, Charlie Adelson is the gravitational center of her testimony. And no matter how far she tries to pull away, she remains in orbit. Grief is supposed to be chaotic, uncontrollable, raw. But when emotion appears on cue and disappears just as quickly, it raises a question no one wants to ask. What are we actually watching?
Did your ID with you?
I just listened to my voicemail.
What'd you hear?
I
Who was
just-
your voicemail?
It's from Lisa Carey, who is my real estate agent, or who I had gone with to find a house. She just said she was driving around town and she heard there was a shooting on Trescott.
Yeah. That's what this is about. I'm sorry you had to hear it that way.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I should.
It's all right. Just leave it there. Is it still on?
It's right there.
Hey, it's Lisa Carey. It is Friday, and I feel like an idiot doing this, but I just heard that there was a shooting over on Trescott, and I promise I'm not trying to be dramatic or even nosy. I don't know, just checking on you, my friend. I hope all is well. I hope your sweet boys are well, and if there's anything you need, let me know. It just ran a chill down my spine when I heard that there was something going on Trescott. All right, 212-3083. I hope all is well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
That's all right. You can stop it. Or does it stop automatically?
It's done.
Okay. Do you have your identification with you? So you never took the last name of Markel?
No.
Adelson. Okay. Wendi with an I. Joe. All right. There was a shooting at your home, or your ex-husband's home, at 2116 Trescott. Okay. Your ex-husband, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm about to tremendous party. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, and then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, you have nothing to be sorry about.
I just don't understand. How could this happen?
Can you let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay. And
Oh my god. And I tried to drive up Trescott and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was
And I
blocked.
just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something. Because sometimes
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
when I'm going to a friend's party tonight and it's a oh my god, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time, I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, sometimes when I lived there were electrical things
Okay.
that would happen. I left my house around 12:15 because I thought I'll get the bourbon and then I'll get some gas for the car and I need super glue for one of the boys' toys, and I was trying to do all I can before meeting my two friends at 1.
Okay, who was at your house this morning?
The only person that was at my house this morning was a guy from Best Buy because my TV was broken and it's under warranty.
Either for you.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay,
Oh my God.
a guy from Best Buy was at your house to work on your TV?
I have his name and everything at the house if you
Okay.
want it, because the boys broke the TV, so he gave me a choice of fixing it or getting a new one.
What time did he come to the house?
He called me at around 8. He was probably there until around 10.
Okay,
Um,
okay. And then you,
and then after he left, I kept working on a paper, and I emailed the paper to a librarian at school to work on some of the citations.
okay.
And I don't think I talked to anyone else, but I was just working for an hour or so from the house. I was going to take a shower, but I didn't. I ran out of time. I did laundry.
Mm.
And then I left the house around noon.
To go to the liquor store and the stuff for the party?
Yeah.
Okay, you went down which road you said?
I went down Trescott.
Okay.
I saw a police car there, and I just thought it's blocked, so I just turned around and drove to, I went down the rest of Centerville, went up Benton across, went to ABC Liquors, bought the bourbon.
I'm a little confused. You're up on Centerville Road. What's your purpose of driving down Trescott?
It's usually the shortcut to get to
Oh.
Monroe.
To get to Monroe?
I usually take it as a cut through to get to Thomasville or Monroe.
Okay, all right, so
I
you,
don't know why I said Monroe. I was thinking Mosaic, Monroe, Thomasville.
okay, so when you come down into town on Centerville,
I almost always cut through Trescott.
Trescott, and just drive by your old house?
Well, I do it as a way of like coming to terms with a divorce. But yeah, sometimes I drive there. If I'm too sad, I drive around.
Okay,
If the kids aren't home and I know they're not home, I feel better about driving by the house. But yeah, it's shorter and I just usually drive by.
it's shorter than going all the way down to Benton.
All the way down Centerville and around Benton. It's just
Right.
a shortcut I always took.
Okay, so you turned around and went back to Centerville, I take it,
Yeah.
down to Benton, and went to the liquor store down there on Thomasville?
Yeah.
The one at Benton Road?
ABC Liquors, it's at, yeah, Benton. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, did you make a purchase there?
Yeah,
And that was sometime after 12?
probably 12:30.
Okay, all right.
And I talked to a guy there because I don't really buy much alcohol, and so they wanted bourbon, and I asked the guy, we had a whole conversation about bourbon and
Right.
my eyes, like,
Your eyes?
he just said, your eyes are really blue,
Right.
and
You have contacts?
I do.
Okay.
But I just remembered it.
Right.
So I bought the bourbon and got some gas on Thomasville and met my friends at Mosaic.
Which gas station did you go to on Thomasville?
The one that's, I always forget the name, but the one that's close to the cross street. It's right next to the Goodwill.
Okay.
If you're heading north on Thomasville. If you're heading north on Thomasville, it's on your right.
Okay, just past the Goodwill
Just
place?
past the Goodwill. It's close to the intersection there.
Okay, all right, and then from that point, you went straight to the
Went to Mosaic
Mosaic restaurant?
and met friends there. I used to have kind of a steady Friday meeting, and I hadn't seen my two friends in a while. And so we had made plans to meet up.
What time did you get to Mosaic?
About 1. I was a little late. We were supposed to meet at 1, and I got there a few minutes after.
Okay, all right, I know it's cold in here. Okay.
I think that's not why I'm
Okay,
shaking.
I know it's part of it, but do you know anybody that would have a beef against your ex-husband?
He's, oh my God.
I hate to ask it now, but I have to do it now. You
I
understand, right?
understand. I understand. He had friends. He always meant well, but he would sometimes rub people the wrong way.
Okay.
But not anyone who would do something like this.
Anybody that he owes money to?
No, he owes money to me,
He owes money to you?
but
Okay,
not me.
okay, all right, all right.
Oh my God, we're poor kids. Oh, I know a lot of people didn't really love him, but I don't know anyone who would do something like this.
Well, we're still trying to determine, what happened and how it happened.
But he wouldn't do this to himself.
Okay,
He was a very positive person.
okay. No one that you know of or that he's spoken to recently that he's had some type of problem with or that he was concerned about?
No one that he was concerned about. I mean, we've been separated for 2 years, so I don't know,
Right.
If he had something going on, I wouldn't know about it, but, I mean, I had lost my voice earlier this week, and so we had put off this conversation about our son's school and where he was going to go, and he, I can't, I know a lot of people didn't love him, but not anyone who would, hate him.
Okay.
He meant well. Everyone that knew him
Okay.
knows that he means well, but he can be a little argumentative,
Right.
but not. He didn't owe anyone money. He didn't do anything except work and take care of his kids. He wasn't involved in anything bad.
Okay.
I can't believe this is happening.
I know. And he was a professor at the law school. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And your divorce has been 2 years, or the total separation, I'm assuming?
Total separation's been 2 years. Our divorce was finalized last summer around this time.
Okay.
He wouldn't do this to himself. He has a girlfriend now.
This body cam footage has been analyzed thousands of times. People have watched her face, her breathing, the timing of her tears. Some see genuine distress. Others see performance. But here's what's objectively true. Emotion in this footage appears selectively. There are moments where Wendi seems overcome, where she struggles to speak, where tears form. And then there are moments, sometimes seconds later, where the emotion vanishes, where her voice steadies, where she provides detailed, coherent answers to complex questions. Real trauma doesn't work that way. Real grief doesn't turn on and off like a switch. But controlled emotion does. Performed emotion does. I'm not saying she's faking. I'm saying there's an inconsistency worth noting. Because if you compare this body cam footage to her courtroom testimonies years later, you see something interesting. The emotion changes depending on the audience. In front of police, she's devastated, overwhelmed, cooperative. In front of a jury, she's composed, articulate, measured. Which version is real? Maybe both. Maybe neither. But the difference between them tells us something important. Wendi Adelson understands the power of perception, and she adjusts her presentation accordingly. But there was one moment Wendi couldn't prepare for. One statement from years ago that kept resurfacing no matter how much time passed. A joke. Or at least, that's what she called it. A joke about hiring a hitman. And the more she explained it, the less funny it became. Innocent jokes don't require years of explanation. They're told, they're forgotten, they fade into memory. But this joke never faded. It grew. And every time Wendi tried to explain it, it became more complicated.
I absolutely had a close relationship with my brother.
And how soon after the murder did your lawyer advise you not to talk to your family about it?
In 2016.
Okay, so what about the 2 years in between? Did you talk to him about it then?
I mean, I talked to him about the fact that a murder occurred, but I guess I don't understand the question.
But you never talked to him about the suspicions you raised in the law enforcement interview that your brother might have done it?
No, I did not.
You suspected your brother could have been a part of this, right?
I suspected lots of people could have been a part of it.
But he was one of the people, right?
While I was talking with law enforcement for 6 hours, terrified out of my mind, I offered them every possible idea I could come up with.
Right. And one of the possible ideas was that your brother could have murdered your child's father.
I didn't really believe that was possible.
Was part of the plot for you to be able to have plausible deniability about this?
Absolutely not.
Is it better for both you and your brother if you don't know the details of this?
I don't even understand the question that you're asking me.
When did you first become aware that you might be a suspect in this case?
I mean, as the ex-wife, I assumed I was a suspect from the beginning.
What was your first thought when you were asked if anyone might have murdered Dan Markel for your benefit?
I thought, oh my God, maybe if I hadn't divorced him, he would still be alive. Maybe this is my fault because I complained to the wrong person. Maybe Danny gave a student a bad grade and they came after him. I just was trying to think of who possibly could have wanted to hurt him.
But you didn't say any of that before. I mean, the first thing you said was Charlie, right?
I don't think so.
Page 25 of your interview, line 5 through 15. Do you have any reason to dispute? Page 25, not 5 hours into it. You say Charlie might have done it, right?
Can I see, please?
You may. This is going to be tab 1, page 25.
What I say here is that he would never do it. Right under the highlighted part, I say no, he would never.
Need a copy?
Page 25, line 5 through 15. I mean, my brother the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in that taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and then I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay or fix it, or whether I should get a new one. And it was always his joke that, like, he knew that Danny always treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. And you do say you don't think he would do it, but can we agree you brought up his name on page 25 of the interview?
I did.
When asked, would you ever ask someone to do something like this? You say not in a million years. When asked, okay, do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? You say no. And when Isom starts to ask you what good does it serve, you say, I mean my brother, the one, his name is Charlie. Isn't that how it went?
This is the transcript, but I think there's also inaccuracies in the transcription.
Oh boy. All right. Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I said.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not right.
No further questions.
According to testimony, when he once made a comment, either to her brother Charlie or in his presence, about hiring a hitman to deal with Dan Markel. She's explained this statement multiple times in multiple settings to multiple audiences. It was a joke, a moment of frustration, the kind of thing people say when they're angry and don't mean it. And maybe that's true. People do say extreme things in moments of emotion. But here's what makes this different. Innocent jokes don't become evidence. They don't get brought up in trial after trial. They don't require clarification years later. This joke, if that's what it was, has become a ghost in the courtroom. Never charged, never proven, but never gone. Why does it keep coming back? Because context matters. If you make a joke about hiring a hitman and then your ex-husband is killed by a hired hitman, that joke stops being funny. It becomes a statement of intent. Or, at the very least, it becomes something prosecutors can't ignore. Winnie's explanations are always the same. She didn't mean it. It was hyperbole. Anyone going through a difficult divorce says things they don't mean. And she's right. They do. But most people going through a difficult divorce don't have their ex-spouse murdered in a way that matches the joke they made. The joke wouldn't die because the reality kept it alive. This isn't her trial. Her name isn't on the indictment. She's not the one facing decades in prison. So why does the entire courtroom feel like it's revolving around her?
Good morning. If you can just take your seat for right now, I will swear you in when the jurors re-enter the room. I believe, even though the jurors indicated they did not have to go to the bathroom at this point, if we are once again dealing with the needs of 14 people, they might be in the bathroom, so wait for the knock. I believe that we have a few jurors that do need to use the restroom. If anyone needs to stretch their legs or use the bathroom themselves, please take your opportunity now. Once we start with the testimony, again, the door will remain closed if you exit. Go ahead. Oh, before you leave the room, Ms. Fulford, once again, Mrs. Adelson, I'm going to reiterate the instruction that I gave to you last Friday concerning any reactions that you may have to either the testimony or the evidence in the case. I understand this may be a distressing thing for your child to be offering testimony in your trial. However, you are to control your expressions and your emotions. Do you understand those? Everyone can take their break. If you need to step down until it's time to testify, you may do so as well.
Wendi Adelson has testified in multiple trials now. Sigfredo Garcia's trial, Katie Magbanua's retrial, Charlie Adelson's trial, and most recently, her own mother Donna Adelson's trial. Each time, she takes the stand as a witness. But each time, she becomes something more than that. She becomes the centerpiece. In Donna Adelson's trial, this dynamic was impossible to ignore. The defendant was Donna, but the person everyone watched was Wendi. The person prosecutors questioned most carefully was Wendi. The person whose credibility mattered most was Wendi. Defense attorneys face an impossible choice in cases like this: defend their client or point towards someone else. Watch what happens when the someone else is the defendant's own daughter.
I wouldn't say without his influence in any way, but yes, they've grown up without their father.
He's not here to give them advice.
He is not.
He can't come to any of their functions, sports, anything else.
Correct.
They're not eating kosher like they would have with their father.
They are not.
They don't have him at all.
They don't have him in their lives day to day, no.
Because on July the 18th of 2014, he was brutally murdered in his driveway. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
Redirect examination.
When you said you were an actor in someone else's show, whose show was it?
I think I felt like I just wasn't fully present in my own life, that I had always been a real people pleaser. And so there was an aspect of not always being true to myself and wanting to make other people happy.
And one of those people is your mom, right?
Yes.
And that's part of why you kept going with relocation, even when you kind of had some doubts about it, right?
I would say it's part of the reason.
This moment was stunning. Donna Adelson's own defense attorney, in open court, suggested that if anyone had motive and knowledge, it might be Wendi. Not Donna. Wendi. Think about what that means. A mother's defense strategy included implicating her daughter. Not explicitly, not with evidence, but with implication, with suggestion, with the courtroom equivalent of pointing and saying, "Look over there instead." And when he had to sit there and absorb it, she couldn't fight back without appearing defensive. She couldn't ignore it without seeming complicit. She was trapped in a narrative she didn't control, in a trial that wasn't about her, but somehow always came back to her. This is what makes Wendi Adelson's position so unique. She's never been charged. She's never been arrested. But she's been tried in every courtroom her family members entered. And the verdict, at least in public perception, remains undecided. But here's the question that haunts every prosecutor, every investigator, every person who's followed this case from the beginning. If Wendi Adelson is innocent, why does everyone keep pointing toward her? And if she's involved, why hasn't she been charged? The answer might lie not in what she says, but in how she says it. One of the most fascinating aspects of Wendi Adelson's testimonies is her use of language. Not what she says, but how she structures her answers. Because there's a difference between denying something and redirecting away from it. When asked direct questions, Wendi often provides indirect answers. She doesn't lie. Lying under oath is perjury, and she's too smart for that. Instead, she reframes. She adds context. She explains the question before answering it. And in doing so, she subtly shifts the focus away from the uncomfortable truth. For example, when asked if she knew about a murder plot, she doesn't just say no. She explains why she couldn't have known, how her relationship with her family worked, how information was shared or withheld. The answer becomes a story, and in that story, she positions herself as someone on the outside, someone who loved her family but wasn't part of their decisions. It's a brilliant strategy, actually, because you can't cross-examine a story the same way you can cross-examine a yes or no answer. Stories have emotional weight. They feel complete. They satisfy the listener even when they don't actually answer the question. But here's the problem with deflection language. It creates a pattern. And once you start looking for that pattern, you see it everywhere. In her police interviews, in her depositions, in her courtroom testimonies. Always the long answer. Always the contextual framework. Always the redirection. And you're left wondering, is this how an innocent person talks? Or is this how a careful person avoids saying too much? Writing fiction requires a specific skill. Understanding how stories are built, how audiences react, how narratives are controlled. And when a fiction writer takes the stand, that skill doesn't disappear.
And is that the only book you've written, or have you written more than one book?
I've only written one book.
What was the book about?
The book was about human trafficking and about the vulnerabilities that lead to trafficking, the problems when it occurs, and basically how to recover from it after.
Where was the book set?
It was set in a fictional town.
What was the name of the fictional town?
Hiawassee Springs.
So Hiawassee. Is it located in the panhandle of Florida?
No, I used to see the name when I was driving from Tallahassee to Orlando, so it's somewhere in between.
And was the place modeled after Tallahassee?
It was definitely somewhere in Florida, but not supposed to be about Tallahassee, no.
Who was the central character in that book?
So there's 3 central characters. One was one of my clients, kind of a composite character from Eastern Europe. One was kind of a composite character of many clients I've represented from Latin America. And one was a public interest lawyer.
And was the public interest lawyer Lily?
Yes.
And is that the character that's sort of based after yourself?
No, really more based after a friend of mine.
And was Hiawassee, Florida, quote, just a small stop on the way back to what we had previously known as civilization? Is that a quote from your book?
That sounds like a quote from my book, yeah.
And who's the husband of Lily, the public interest lawyer?
You want his name in the book?
Yes.
I think it was Josh Stone.
All right, and what was Josh's employment?
Josh was an English professor.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Josh was an English professor.
A professor, where did he teach?
It's been a while. I wrote the book over 10 years ago. I don't remember what I named the university in the
North Florida State University?
That sounds right.
NFSU?
NFSU sounds right, yeah.
All right, and in the book, does Lily lament, quote, we moved to this godforsaken place for Josh's career?
Yes, that sounds like a line Lily would say.
All right. When you looked at page 187 of the divorce document on cross, and I'll hand that back to you. This is actually my copy. Just turn back to 187. Do you see the quote that you read previously from that page?
I don't.
Okay. It had to do with, let's see if I can find it. That you were very unhappy in the marriage. I think it's the third paragraph there.
I see that line.
Okay, the wife has been very unhappy in the marriage and files her petition for dissolution of marriage in August 2012. The husband continues to characterize this as abandonment, and then it goes on to say that he had been disparaging you to some of the folks at the law school. Do you remember reading that?
I do.
Was that intended to be the place in this binder where you allege emotional abuse by your husband?
I mean, I think it's emotionally abusive to suggest somebody has mental health issues.
Okay. What is the prof's blog? You were asked about that on Cross.
Yeah, it was a blog that Danny started with some of his colleagues to kind of promote community in the law professor world.
And who reads the prof's?
Probably
blog?
other law professors and people interested in becoming law professors.
Who is on the Crim Prof listserv?
I don't know.
Were you on the listserv for that prof's blog?
I may have been on the listserv at some point.
Do you remember seeing the post that you were shown on Cross?
I do.
And the post says something about Danny and I are planning to attend a conference that will begin Sunday, July 20th. Is there any other information on what you were shown about Dan's travel plans post-murder other than that?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
The post says Danny and I guess it's another professor writing this thing. Danny and I are planning to attend a conference that will begin Sunday, July 20th. Is that the type of information that he would typically have on something like the prof's blog or Facebook?
That sounds right.
Okay, but as far as the date he's leaving, the flight he's on, that kind of stuff, would that typically be on the prof's blog?
He wouldn't put what flight number he was on, but he would almost always communicate when he was going on a trip.
Okay, so going to a conference that starts July 20th might be an example.
Flying to New York tomorrow would be an example.
Okay. But
not a flight number.
But he didn't put flying to New York tomorrow on this occasion?
No.
You were referenced several times, not on direct examination by the state, but by your brother's attorney on Cross as a co-conspirator. Are you charged in this case?
No.
This isn't your trial, is it?
No.
Is your brother charged with conspiring with you to do a murder?
No.
Is he charged with conspiring with you to plan a murder?
No.
Is he charged with soliciting you to do a murder?
No.
Who is he charged with doing those things with?
I don't think anyone.
Have you had an opportunity to review his indictment in this case?
I have not.
Give you an opportunity to take a look at that document to yourself. Who is your brother alleged to have done these crimes with?
Catherine D. Magbanowa.
Were you on the wire in this case, Ms. Adelson?
No.
So when the bump happened, are you familiar with the event I'm referencing as the bump?
I am now.
When law enforcement approached your mother on the street and handed her a piece of paper?
Yes.
Okay, when that occurred, who did your mother call?
I don't know.
Not you, right?
Not me.
Okay. And once your brother found out about the bump, did he call you about it?
No.
Who did he call?
I don't know.
Well, you listened to the calls to authenticate the voices, didn't you?
Just to hear the voices, not to hear the content of the calls.
Okay. And the voices were your brother's voice, right?
But I listened to the calls just to hear who was on them, so I don't know what content they're referencing.
I heard your answer. My question to you now is, your brother's voice was on the calls.
He was on some of the calls I listened to.
Your mother's voice was on the calls.
She was on some of the calls I listened to.
Did you have any secret meetings with your brother post bump that happened in South Florida?
No.
You were asked about Jeffrey Lacasse and the way that your relationship ended. What is OkCupid?
OkCupid is a dating website.
Were you on that dating website?
I was.
Were you on that dating website at the time that you were dating Mr. Lacasse?
No, I wasn't.
And were you speaking, so I guess if you weren't on it, you weren't speaking to multiple men from the website during the time you were dating Mr. Lacasse. And I'll remind you that you provided your phone in this case and it was cell-brighted, downloaded.
Objection, Your Honor. Argument approach.
Wendi Adelson wrote a novel, a work of fiction. And while the content of that book isn't directly related to this case, the fact that she's a writer is worth examining. Because writers understand something most people don't: how stories are believed. They understand structure. They understand pacing. They understand how to reveal information in a way that shapes perception. And when you're testifying in a murder case, those skills don't go away. If anything, they become more relevant. Think about it. A good writer knows how to create a character that the audience roots for. They know how to build sympathy. They know how to construct a narrative where the protagonist is the victim of circumstances beyond their control. And when Wendi testifies, that's exactly what she does. She builds a narrative where she's the ex-wife who just wanted to move on, the daughter who loved her family but didn't control them, the mother who only wanted what was best for her children. It's a compelling story. It's believable. And it positions her as someone things happen to, not someone who made things happen. Is that manipulation? Or is that just effective communication? The answer probably depends on whether you believe her. But either way, the skill is undeniable. For someone who writes stories, Wendi Adelson understood something very well: who the audience was. And in a courtroom, the audience is the jury. And juries believe stories more than they believe facts. There's a psychological principle that says under extreme stress, people protect what matters most to them. They don't have time to think through every response. They react instinctively, and those instincts reveal their true priorities. So when Wendi Adelson is under pressure in the courtroom, when she's being questioned aggressively, when she's facing implications about her family members, what does she protect first? Watch her testimonies closely. When her mother is implicated, she defends her. When Charlie is implicated, she becomes careful, measured, protective. When she herself is implicated, she provides detailed explanations, context, narrative. But here's what's interesting. She never fully distances herself from any of them. She never says, if they did this, I want nothing to do with them. She never expresses anger at being potentially used or manipulated. She remains loyal, protective, bound to them. And that loyalty, as beautiful as it might be in another context, becomes a liability here. Because loyalty to people accused of murder raises questions. If you truly had no knowledge, wouldn't you be furious? Wouldn't you demand answers? Wouldn't you separate yourself completely? But Wendi doesn't. She stays in orbit. And that choice, or inability to choose differently, tells us something about what matters most to her. Family. Connection. The bond that transcends even the most serious allegations. Is that love? Or is that complicity? The line between the two has never been clear. As of now, Wendi Adelson has never been charged with any crime related to Dan Markel's murder. No arrest. No indictment. No formal accusation. And yet, her presence dominates every aspect of this case. Prosecutors have spent years investigating her. They've analyzed her phone records, her financial transactions, her statements to police. They've questioned her under oath multiple times. They've listened to wiretap conversations where her family members discuss her, worry about her, try to protect her. And still, no charges. Why? The most likely answer is the simplest. They don't have enough evidence. Suspicion isn't proof. Proximity isn't guilt. And in the American legal system, you need evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to convict someone of murder. But here's what makes Wendi's position so unusual. She wields enormous influence over these trials without ever being the defendant. Her testimony has helped convict her brother. Her testimony was central to her mother's trial. Her statements to police, her emails, her recorded conversations, they're all evidence, but evidence against other people, not against her. She's the uncharged presence. The person everyone orbits, but no one can touch. And in some ways, that makes her the most powerful person in this entire case. Because without charges, she can't be convicted. But without exoneration, she can't be cleared. She exists in this perpetual state of legal limbo, forever suspected, never proven, always watched. And for someone as intelligent as Wendi Adelson, that might be exactly where she wants to be. Because if you're never charged, you never have to defend yourself. You can remain the witness, the observer, the person things happen around, but not to. It's a position that requires incredible discipline to maintain. And she's maintained it for over 10 years. But there's one test that every testimony, every explanation, every denial has to pass. The consistency test. Because truth stays stable. It doesn't change with audience or circumstance. But performances adapt. They evolve. They improve with practice. So when we look at everything Wendi Adelson has said over the past decade, what stays the same? And what quietly shifts? If you compare Wendi Adelson's first police interview in 2014 to her most recent courtroom testimony, certain elements remain constant. Her core narrative never shifts. She didn't know about any murder plot. She wasn't involved in any conspiracy. She loved her family, but didn't control their decisions. Her divorce from Dan was difficult, but she didn't wish him harm. These points are consistent, repeated, stable. But here's where it gets interesting. The details around those points change. The emotional tone shifts. The amount of information she provides expands or contracts, depending on what's being asked and who's asking it. In her early interviews with police, she volunteered information. She explained her movements that day in exhaustive detail. She talked about her relationship with Dan, her family dynamics, her frustrations. She seemed eager to help, eager to cooperate. In later testimonies, she became more cautious, more selective about what she volunteered, more focused on answering only what was asked, no more, no less. Is that growth? Is that learning from legal counsel that you should never volunteer information in a criminal investigation? Or is that adaptation, the natural evolution of a story that's been told too many times? Truth doesn't need to evolve. It just is. But narratives do. They get refined. They get tested. They get adjusted based on what works and what doesn't. And when you watch Wendi Adelson's testimonies chronologically, you see that evolution happening in real time. Dan Markel was murdered on July 18th, 2014. More than a decade has passed. 4 people have been convicted. 2 members of Wendi Adelson's own family are spending the rest of their lives in prison. The case is solved in the eyes of the law. But for everyone who's followed this case, for everyone who's watched Wendi testify, for everyone who's analyzed her statements and her silences, there remains one question that has never been answered. Did she know? Not did she plan it. Not did she hire the killers. But did she know? Before it happened, or after, or during, at any point, did Wendi Adelson know that her family was plotting to kill her ex-husband? And here's the thing. We may never have a definitive answer. Prosecutors may never bring charges. Evidence may never emerge that conclusively proves knowledge or innocence. Wendi Adelson may testify in more trials, give more interviews, provide more explanations. But the question will remain. Because this case was never really about what can be proven in court. It's about what we observe, what we question, what we feel when we watch someone navigate the most serious allegations imaginable without ever quite being touched by them. Wendi Adelson is either the most unlucky person in this entire tragedy, someone who lost her ex-husband to violence, watched her family destroy themselves, and became the subject of endless suspicion despite being innocent, or she's the most protected person in a conspiracy that cost a brilliant man his life. Which version you believe probably says as much about you as it does about her. But here's what we know for certain. Intelligence can be a shield, family can be a prison, and sometimes the most important person in a courtroom is the one who never gets charged. Dan Markel's children lost their father. His family lost a son, a brother, a beloved member. Justice has been served in the legal sense. People are in prison. But closure? Truth? The full story? Those remain just out of reach. And as long as Wendi Adelson remains uncharged, as long as her testimonies continue to shape trials she's not defendant in, as long as her presence looms over this case without resolution, one thing is certain. This story isn't over. The question isn't if we'll hear from Wendi Adelson again. It's what she'll say when we do, and whether, this time, we'll finally hear the truth beneath the testimony. This is Dark Trail Files. If this examination made you think differently about testimony, about family, about the space between suspicion and proof, subscribe now. Hit the bell. Share this with someone who appreciates true crime that goes deeper than headlines. Because we don't just report cases. We analyze them. We question them. We examine the psychology, the patterns, the moments that matter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking critically. And remember, in true crime, the most dangerous question isn't who did it. It's what aren't they telling us? I'm Dark Trail Files, and I'll see you in the next investigation.